Hey everyone, and welcome to Volume 4 of the series I'm doing on the classical music CDs in my collection. I'm going to do a stack at a time of around 15 CDs per video, and I'm going to go through my entire collection until I don't have any more to show. So this is Volume 4. Hopefully you've watched Volumes 1, 2, and 3 already. So without much more, let's just get started onto the CDs. We're starting with this one right here, which is the great Bach Brandenburg Concertos. Now, actually, if you have not listened to the Bach Brandenburg Concertos, you've probably missed out on one of the greatest achievements of Western civilization. They're amazing pieces of music. They're for an orchestra, and they're written by Johann Sebastian Bach. Each one of the Brandenburg Concertos are just so full of invention and harmony and lyricism. It just kind of defies the imagination. This is one of the reasons why Bach is the towering master that he is. Anyway, this is a 2-CD set. It's performed by the Philharmonia Virtuosi, conducted by Richard Kapp. It's on the Sony Classical label and under the Essential Classics brand. Next, we've got sort of a historical thing on the EMI label. It's also Bach. It's the Suites for Cello. It's the famous Suites for Cello. Incredible music, beautiful, beautiful works for unaccompanied cello. And it's played by Pablo Casals, the great cello master from Spain, who I have a lot of recordings of. If you watch the other videos in this series, you'll see a lot more CDs by him. And it's under Great Recordings of the Century. So this is sort of a milestone recording of the J.S. Bach Suites for Cello. The Suite number 1 in G major, the Suite number 2 in D minor, and the Suite number 3 in C major. Now here's something, actually, this is kind of a recent pickup. It's Franz Lehar's The Merry Widow, and I guess you would call it an opera or an operetta. It's performed by the Berlin Philharmonic, conducted by the German conductor Herbert Von Karajan. And it's on the Deutsche Grammophon label, a well-respected and renowned label. Now, I haven't listened to this. I've never listened to The Merry Widow. And one of the reasons why I haven't listened to it yet is because it comes with, this book here. Here's a picture of Lehar. So he lived from 1819 to 1895, so he sort of spanned the whole 19th century there. Here's a picture of Von Karajan, and there's a picture of Elizabeth Harwood, and here's a picture of Teresa Stratus, and Werner Hallweg, Renee Kahlo, Zoltan Clemen. And then you have the whole libretto for the whole thing, and it's in German on the left, and which I thought it was going to be in French on the left because it looks very French, this whole thing, and then it's English on the right. And that's one reason why I haven't really listened to it yet, because I really want to sit down with the libretto and go through it and follow along with the story. But you can see the front looks very French, and it says Maxims on the bottom, so maybe it was inspired by French culture of the 19th century. And it's a 2-CD set, so this should be an interesting thing to listen to. The Merry Widow by Franz Lehar. Next, we just sort of have like this Bernstein's greatest hits. Favorites from West Side Story, Candide, On the Town, Fancy Free Ballet, and more. So it's his own works. Some of it's from the Broadway stage. Some of it is Candide is more like a, I don't know how you would really classify Candide, but it is such a beautiful piece. And I don't know, actually, I love Candide. I had the pleasure of seeing it live at Lincoln Center in New York City. You're probably familiar with the Candide Overture, but the whole thing is great. If you get a chance to listen to Candide, do so. It's really great, really made me think really highly of Bernstein. And then it's on the CBS recordings, Masterworks. Next, we've got some on the Decca label, which is a very legendary label when it comes to great music. You've got the vocalist Renee Flemming, bel canto, Orchestra of St. Luke's, and that's sort of like, beautiful music, vocal music. You've got music from Bellini, Donizetti, Rossini, and Decca. Got some more vocal music here. It's Brahms, the great composer, Johannes Brahms. Made such beautiful work. This is vocal music, once again, by Hermann Prey. He was a very, I've got a few recordings from him. He's done a lot of vocal music, a German guy. And songs, Liebeslieder, songs of love. Lieder is songs, I think, and Liebes is love. So Liebeslieder, songs of love. Okay, and there's a nice little loving couple. And here's all the different songs on the CD. On the Sapphire label, I've never really heard of that label. And there's a picture of Hermann Prey and the pianist, who happens to be Helmut Deutsch. Okay. Next we have the American composer, Aaron Copland, who did a lot of really nice, interesting stuff. Here are three of his really most well-known works. It's on the Telarc label. The Appalachian Spring, which you're probably familiar with. It's got this great American sound to it of like the mountains, and it just exudes majesty and stuff like that. The Appalachian Spring, Rodeo, which I think was for a ballet originally, but it's you'll also probably be really familiar with that. And Fanfare for the Common Man, which another thing that's quite popular. Louis Lane and the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. Here's sort of what's on it. Aaron Copland did pass away not too long ago, but was a great American composer, friends with Leonard Bernstein. Lived in New York, I believe. Next, we've got a CD of Chopin Mazurkas, played by the pianist Vladimir Ashkenazy, who was a great pianist. Chopin wrote almost exclusively piano music. He did write a piano concerto, which is great, by the way, but he focused really on the piano, unlike Beethoven or somebody like that, or Mozart, who wrote for almost every kind of instrument. He really just said he wanted to focus on the piano, and he wrote polonaises and nocturnes and waltzes and mazurkas and so on, and etudes and so on and so forth. So this is, it's got a sort of a beautiful cover. It's on the Decca label, and here's all the mazurkas that he wrote and what's on this disc, as you can see. Decca by Vladimir Ashkenazy. Next, we've got Artur Schnabel. This is a very historical recording. It belongs in the historical classification. It's Mozart's piano concertos. The Piano Concerto number 21. Ooh, that is a nice piano concerto. Definitely recommend that one, the 21, one of the most beautiful ones. As well as number 27 is also beautiful. Really, many of these in the 20s area. To think that he wrote that many piano concertos when like somebody like Beethoven wrote only, I think, 5 of them. So we're already up into 27 over here. London Symphony Orchestra, Malcolm Sargent and John Barbirolli. Original recordings 1937 to 1934. New remastering with the Cedar sound system. Cedar audio restoration using the Cedar process. So historical recording here of some beautiful Mozart piano concertos. Next we have the pianist Earl Wild, quite a good pianist actually. He's playing Edvard Grieg's Piano Concerto in A minor, a beautiful piano concerto, very famous, by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by René Leibowitz. The Camille Saint-Saëns, another great French composer, his Piano Concerto number 2 in G minor. RCA Victor Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Massimo Freccia. And Franz Liszt, the Hungarian Fantasy, contemporary of Frédéric Chopin, Earl Wild and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra with Russell Stanger, the conductor. This is on Chesky Records. And there you have it. You have a little questionnaire there. So next we've got a CD of Frédéric Chopin's music, Kim Scholes on the violoncello, and David Breitman on the piano. Now this is kind of interesting because I'm not really sure that he wrote that many pieces besides just solo piano. But maybe anybody could tell me in the comments actually if he wrote things for cello and piano, sonatas and things like that. Or whether these were transcribed perhaps for the cello and the piano by some other person. You know, it says Polonaise Brillante. I know he wrote some piano polonaises. Grand Duo Concertante, most likely that was, since it says duo, that was written for the two instruments. Sonata Opus 65, well, that sounds like it could have been written for two instruments since it's a sonata. Etude Opus 10, transcribed for violin and piano by Mr. Scholes. Okay, so maybe that one was definitely transcribed, and so was the one underneath, Valse Brillante, which is famous, transcribed for violin and piano. Okay, so some of them were transcribed and some of them were not. It's on the Titanic label, and they've got a picture of the Titanic there. That's pretty cool. Here's another Pablo Casals playing Brahms this time, the F major cello sonata and the double concerto, as well as some encores on the Pearl label. Once again, a great archival and historical label. And Pablo Casals plays Brahms, the cello sonata number 2 in F, and the double concerto in A minor, as well as Boccherini, Adagio and Allegro from sonata number 6 in A major. Okay, so a great historical recording on the Pearl label. The next CD is the Sinfonia Concertante, Kerschel 364, and their Concertone, or Concertone K190 by Mozart, played by the Smithsonian Chamber Orchestra, J. Schroeder and M. McDonald. It's on the Deutsche Harmonia Mundi label, and RCA Victrola on the top. So I thought they were two separate labels, but that's odd. There's the little doggy listening to the Victrola. And of course, what can you say about Mozart, the eternal genius of music? So anyway, there we have it. Volume 4 of the classical CD collection, my classical CD selection. I've got lots more to do, so I hope that you're following along on this series and checking out my CDs. Comments are always appreciated, and I always enjoy receiving them. If you have anything to comment on any of these CDs or your feelings about some of the artists / composers / performers that are seen here, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And obviously, of course, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so you don't miss future videos in the classical series of CDs in my collection. Thank you very much, and have a great day, and see you on the next one.